After watching the title of this video, you probably reached the conclusion that it's a bold claim, assuming you've seen Code Geass in its entirety. When I think of my favorite characters, the ones who I enjoy watching, identifying with, and just finding the most interesting, there are few who hold a candle to Lelouch Britannia from Code Geass. Often compared to Light Yagami from Death Note, he is a much more fascinating character. If you've watched Code Geass, you know it's one of the best anime out there. Lelouch has always been portrayed as upholding the definition of upper class, especially during the parts of the show where he was at school, and not under the disguise of his other identity, Zero. He demonstrated the skills to back up this portrayal, defeating opponents in chess and leading the Black Knights in a mecha field battle in the first episode. Even when outnumbered and outgunned, he found a way out, showcasing his leadership, brainpower, and composure. He's also a gambler and successful one at that. Not only does he gamble with people twice his age, in the first episode he turned a chess game around in less than 9 minutes. Lelouch is a pure intellect, a grandmaster-level chess player who cannot help but calculate and judge the trajectories of power within the hierarchies around him. Lelouch treats the battlefields as a game of chess, with people as pieces and territories as objectives, the components of his campaigns as a series of tasks to be completed. I'd say he's one of the best chess players in the whole anime-verse. When Lelouch received the power of the Geass, he immediately tested its power. He didn't get carried away after receiving the Geass like Light did with the Death Note. Instead, he took the time to learn all about the limitations of the eye. Once he had mastered the eye, Lelouch used the power of Geass to overwhelm his enemies and eventually take down the kingdom of Britannia. Lelouch has the power of commanding people, just once, to do his absolute bidding no matter what it may be. This so-called power of the king, to bend the will of humanity to his whim, becomes the power to change the world. In order to create peace throughout the world, Lelouch made a plan that saw him sacrifice himself to unite the world. He was an eloquent speaker and used his words to manipulate people into doing his bidding. He was a very good manipulator. He was able to manipulate his brother, his Japanese allies, and most importantly, he manipulated the entire world into believing he was the villain. He was a clever individual who had an insane ability to improvise and adapt in any given situation. His ability to conjure multiple strategies, along with his mental capabilities, are arguably what make him the smartest anime character of all time. The biggest thing about Lelouch is that he is torn in a lot of ways. The further he gets down the path of destroying Britannia, the more he realizes that the reasons he starts out, to make a better world for his little sister, are getting lost among the battles and the choices he is having to make. There is a constant battle within Lelouch over how far to go with his revolution. As he goes further and further, he is having to make harsher and harsher choices. But what sets him apart from other characters like Light Yagami is that while he does do horrifically awful things and uses people in cold ways, he has an awareness of his actions, and it does cause him a lot of inner turmoil. Something that gets harder and harder to deal with as he is having to make more of them over the course of the series. It makes his character growth that much more fascinating, as he is having to choose where his loyalties lie. Even when he despairs, he will use that despair as a weapon, a last act of defiance, and change the world like he set out to do. He ends his own father like he set out to do. He defies and controls God himself, causing the collective consciousness of the human race itself to destroy Charles and his plans. Lelouch gazes into this collective unconscious, otherwise known as God, and commands it to not stop the progress of time, effectively bending God to the will of his Geass. This is the kind of tale being told in Code Geass in its entirety, and it is oh so satisfying to see play out, to see all the pieces in play come together. An aspect that I always liked about this character that set him apart from others like him was his weak physique. Lelouch is a little too frail for his own good, relying on his brain to be his best weapon. As to how brilliant Lelouch was, most of his plans did not require the use of Geass. The power of the Geass was only the ability to grant the position of the king, to rule the world, which Lelouch excelled at. If you see all his plans, he set them up using his intellect only. Every move of his was a move he could have done without the Geass, although with more effort. The Geass is just a bonus. Even if he hadn't been gifted with the Geass, there is no doubt that he would have kept his promise as a child and taken down the Britannian Empire. Lelouch also executed his plans way better than Light. Instead of pure reliance on the power gifted to him, he also ensured the plan succeeded without his power intervention. Code Geass maybe has the best ending of any anime or show I have yet seen, titled as Zero Requiem, which was a grand scheme that involved his own death and the unification of the world under his rule. He uses his power and influence to unite the world under his rule. He then does the unthinkable. He becomes the most hated and feared tyrant in history, and he makes himself the enemy of the entire world. He then sacrifices himself and allows his best friend, Suzaku, to kill him in front of everyone. He does this to make himself the symbol of all the evil and injustice in the world, and to make his death the catalyst for peace and harmony. So practically Lelouch does what Eren tried doing, but way better. Now he might not be the smartest when it comes to pure IQ, but when it comes to strategizing and implementation, I think Lelouch takes it, which was proven in the ending of Code Geass. But I'd like to hear how many of you people have watched Code Geass and what's your take on it? Thanks for watching, and as Lelouch would say,
I, Lelouch v Britannia, command you
to like and subscribe to this channel.
Now all of you, die!